Well, hello, today I'm gonna show you how to fully set up Windows Home Server 2011. Why would you do that? Well, because it just works and I guess it's the easiest home backup or cloud solution, especially if you do use older PCs. Now for this you're gonna need an old PC. I have here an HP Pro, which I got for something like $20, and an ISO file of Windows Home Server 2011, which you can find on the Internet Archive. Once set up, you'll be able to use it as your own backup or storage server, but if you want something more complex like Active Directory or group policy, then you will have to go for Windows Small Business Server 2011. I have here a 3TB Seagate SATA hard drive. This PC already came with a 500 gigs drive, and now it depends on the size of your files and how many things you're planning on storing on this server, but generally you should start with something like 2TB drives. Now for installing additional drives, make sure you have enough SATA power cables. If not, then you're gonna need a splitter, and you're also gonna need some SATA data cables to connect the drives to your motherboard. Generally, regardless of the PC you're planning on using, you should have at least 3 or 4 free SATA ports available on your motherboard, and you can also increase the storage later on. For example, you can start with a 3TB drive and later adding more storage. Now, depending on which PC you're using, the physical space available for a hard drive will be different. For home servers, I usually go for generic OEM office systems from HP or Dell, which you can find them on the internet very cheap. This system already came with a 500 gigs drive and 8 gigs of RAM, which is actually overkill for a home server. Generally, 2 gigs of RAM will be more than enough for basic usage. Also, once you're done, make sure it's connected to the same network as your other devices. This is particularly important, especially if you have multiple routers. It must be connected at the same router as your other systems. You should also connect the keyboard and the mouse because at this point you're gonna need them. Now for the installation, just select the boot device. In my case it's gonna be a USB thumb drive with a copy of Windows Home Server 2011. It is very similar to Windows 7 installation, so it shouldn't be that complicated. We just press new install and it's gonna show us the drives. You can always add additional storage, just make sure to have the hard drive formatted to GPT if it's larger than 2 terabytes, since MBR only supports 2 terabytes partitions. After that, we just press install and Windows will start copying the files. From here is going to be exactly like a standard Windows 7 installation, so I'm going to skip this whole thing. Now, once you are on this screen, depending on your PC and network card, you might have to install the network drivers in order to proceed with the installation. I'm gonna show you in a moment, actually. So this is the error, so I will have to install the network driver, and I'm gonna do that now. Now we just have to select the language. Now we make sure the date and time is correct, and then we press next. Now we agree with the terms and then press next again. Here we don't enter any product key, since the activation servers are long gone anyways, we will have to use an activation script. Now we will have to choose a name for our server. I will choose something short like, I don't know, SDK. I suggest choosing a name of like 3 letters, since it will be easier to map the network drive like this. We will also have to choose a relatively strong password. It must have a special character. And then we just press next again. Now we can use the recommended settings, why not? And here Windows is going to prepare our server, so I'm just gonna skip this part. And now the setup is ready. You will want to see this screen, your server is ready to use. It will tell you here how to connect to your server at this link, but I will come back to that in a moment. Now, in case you got stuck at the previous installing drivers error, I'm gonna show you now how to do it, how to install the drivers. I should have done that before, but I'll just quickly show you now. You just hit Ctrl-Shift-Escape to open Task Manager, you go to File and press New Task, and then run explorer.exe, and now you can go and access your USB thumb drive or CD and install your drivers. Anyways, now we can close that and we are finally on the desktop. Now we have to do two things. First run a Windows activation script and then run legacy update to patch our system. Updating our server through legacy update is extremely important. The last Windows Server update was in January 2026, so make sure you update your server all the way up to that date before using it. Now with the disclaimer out of the way, we are now on our client PC. This one is running Windows Vista, and we just open a browser and type http our server name /connect, and you'll be prompted to download the connector software. So we just run the installer. This is gonna be basically an administrator dashboard for your server, and at this point you no longer need a keyboard or a mouse connected to your server. Just let it run in the background. It's pretty much that's it. Here the installer wizard is going to explain you a few things you can do with your server, but there is way more than that, and I will show you in a moment. So for now we just press next. Now we are prompted to enter our server password. I'll do that real quick. And now it's gonna ask us, for a PC description. So I'll just type Dell Optiplex and then press next. We're gonna skip setting up the backup for now. And no, we don't want to participate in any telemetry. We press next again. And it's gonna download the connector software. Okay, the connector software installed successfully. We press finish and we will be prompted to log into our server dashboard. We just enter our server password and now it's gonna open the dashboard, which is like some sort of control panel for our server. So here we have the dashboard, and now I'm gonna show you a few things you should consider when setting up your home server. That's how our dashboard is gonna look like. Here on home we have a few options to quickly set up backups and so on. Now you should be very careful with one option called remote web access. Never turn that option on under no circumstances. That is actually dangerous because it will expose your server to the internet and eventually it's gonna turn into a botnet. Right now your server is hidden from the internet by your router NAT, but if you turn on that option, it will expose your server. So if you want remote access to your server, then just connect to a VPN through WireGuard and connect to your server like that. Here in common tasks we have a few options like setting up user accounts, which is like a mini Active Directory, let's say, and other options like changing user passwords. You get the idea. Pretty much account management. You also have computers and backups. As you can see here, we have our server and we can see the list with the PCs that are currently connected to our server. And again, we can set up backups from here. Then we have server folders and hard drives. Here we will see a list with our hard drives, the space available, the folders and so on. And here we have the add-ins. They work like extensions to your server, and you can download and install them from websites like Media Smart Server, for example. You can install stuff like remote notifications, fan control, other backup tools for stuff like databases and things like that. But anyways, here you have it, how to quickly set up your own server using Windows Home Server 2011. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you had fun.